Okay. GM. Hello. Welcome. Oh man, we are going to go on a little journey today before we get into streaming. And I'm going to go full screen. I'm like shave. I'm a disaster right now. But I'm going to rant about a couple things because one, kind of need to get it out of my system. And I got no one here right now to rant to. Alpine's sleeping, and I've been in pretty much isolation mode this entire month, which we're now, what are we in? 11 days. So it's November 11th. And, there's a couple things. Like, one of them's just like a rant about Sony, which is going to be kind of funny. And the other one's just like about this project, because I've been humbled. I got to admit, I've been humbled. And, it's all positive. And I'll kind of give maybe an update. We're kind of like, it's kind of a weekend. It's a little bit more than a week, but, my brain is sort of all over the place in terms of the timeline. So I'll kind of run through where we're at. And I'll kind of share a little bit about my feelings on everything so far, because I do think it's really interesting. And maybe it's sort of a cautionary tale. But it's not negative. It's just generally there's a lot of lessons I think that I've learned here in the last 11 days. So I want to start though about like something a little bit just side note. Like I didn't stream last night. First day I missed. Let me explain why. Which is not an excuse, but I kind of again sort of couple this all together into my rant. So I have a client project now. I made a decision when I started my journey into 3D, which happened a year and 3 months ago, that I was going to try, absolutely try as hard as I could to not take on client work. And the reason for this is because, the NFT market and where I was at the time was doing pretty well. I was making good money doing that. I was working full time, and I thought, okay, I can make this work. A little drop in income, but I can go for this, and I can really experiment and do the things that I want to do. I can create the work I want to create for the first time. I started in photography 6 years ago, maybe more than that now, 2017. So I started really photography 2016 to 2017. So yeah, 7 years ago. I started out as a landscape photographer, and I loved it. I mean, I would travel and shoot, and I didn't even think about anything else. It was just like, this is fun. Put my photos up, create a portfolio, but I wasn't thinking about monetizing. I wasn't thinking about making money. I wasn't thinking about clients or work. I was just creating. And, I traveled across Canada. I took a lot of photos. I got better and learned, editing and time lapsing. I kind of dove into it. And it wasn't until I got to Alberta, Canada, and I had contacted by Travel Alberta, who is the tourism board for the province, and one of the bigger tourism boards in Canada, because the Canadian Rockies are in Alberta. So it's kind of, targeted towards that, which is, probably the largest tourist destination in Canada, arguably. Maybe not, maybe Ontario, Toronto, Niagara Falls, but it's up there. And, once they contacted me, it was like, hey, we want you to be part of this community of other creators. You can come hang out. We can chat and, you can network and all these things. I was like, okay, cool. So I said yes. And when I got there, I think I realized like, it kind of like hit me, I think, what people were doing and the opportunities. And then Travel Alberta would say, hey, if you have photos you want to submit, we might buy them, and we have projects that we can fund. And your eyes start lighting up. And as a creator, you're like, oh, wow, like this, I could make a living off of this. And like at the same time, I was getting opportunities and like little offers here and there. Just kind of started to ramp up. But I remember the Travel Alberta thing in particular because, it was the first time I kind of realized like, oh yeah, your reach online on Instagram in particular was a huge impact. And I noticed that people were getting jobs with Travel Alberta, not necessarily because of the quality of their work, although, not to say that, the quality wasn't great, but in part, to what degree is debatable, but they were getting work because of, their influence and because of the reach they had. And it made sense, right? Like if you take two photographers and one photographer is, they're both good, they're nothing, exceptional in the sense like there's not a style or something like I need that person to shoot it. Like they can do the job. You can take the person with 10,000 followers or 100,000 followers. Take the 100,000 as long as, they're not charging you any extra. And that was early on, people were still figuring it out. So you weren't getting a premium on that. People were getting opportunities that had these accounts. And it kind of put me down this path of like creating work that wasn't what I wanted to create because it felt like it was the right thing to do. I can remember this pivot point in particular. And luckily I never really went down this path, but there was a photographer in this group, and he's a very talented guy, but he would shoot, basically models posing, in really beautiful locations. And his photos would just get, obviously massive engagement, right? Like just tons of likes and views. And he was getting jobs with Travel Alberta. And I remember thinking like, okay, like that's how you do it, and I had no interest. I didn't care about, doing model photography or portraits, but your brain starts going like, aha, that's the path to success. And I'm very hyper aware of it. I've thought about it a lot since the beginning. And, in the photography world, like I did commercial work. I was, doing very well part-time while I was working. And then I did video, the same thing, was doing really well. But at the end of the day, I was still like, I was able to say no to projects because I didn't need the money. I was working full time. So I was like, okay, I don't want to do that. And I would pick things that I was interested in, that I was excited about, which worked out well. But I knew when I quit and I did this full time that the temptation was going to be there to be like, okay, take on, client work because that's how you pay your bills. But I knew the path could lead quickly to taking something that I loved, which was 3D. And I'm only 3 years into this journey. 4 years, close to 4 years, and turn it into a job. And I know this sounds like counterintuitive, like that's the dream, right? But when you take like something you really love and you turn it into a job, it can quickly become a job. And then the idea of like sitting down to your computer to create something becomes the job, not the actual joy and passion of creating. It becomes a chore, a job, something that you have to do. So that's where NFTs became, just an unbelievable avenue for me because I was able to create, and luckily, I was able to sell a lot of the work that I was creating. And things, went well in the first year, but, the last 6 months or 7 months of that's been pretty tough. And you start to think like, okay, am I going to make it? Can I do this? Is it sustainable? And the truth is like, I was kind of on the verge of like, all right, like I see 3 paths, right? Like this is going to work, either going to work and take off, which there's very few people that were really making a lot of money and being successful during this last market. Things are starting to turn now. Who knows whether it'll kind of go back or whether it'll just stay where it is. But there's only a handful of people that were really crushing during that, right? And it's a very hard place to get to. It's like podcasting or movies or TV. It's like, the top 1% are going to, get, there's a Pareto's rule, I think it is, like top 1% going to get 99% of the income. Is some rule like that, some number. So it's like, okay, I got to like find a way to get there, or I have to, that's the best case, obviously. In the worst case, like I got to get a job, go back to work. I work in tech. I have lots of skills that I could, bring to that side. Maybe I could find a job in my world, but that's tough, like 3D and rendering and video. It's just like the jobs out there are, you work for a big studio is not really where I want to go. And just, it's not like a huge lot of easy opportunities to make a good living compared to what I was doing before, which was, working in tech. I could make a lot of money pretty quickly, even though like I take breaks, but usually I can find employment pretty quick. Okay. So fast forward, I guess the middle option was like, okay, I can do some paid work, right, for clients. And I'm working with a coach, and he's been incredible. There's a cool story. I shouldn't go too detailed because I kind of go on a tangent, but Ben Newman is sort of the coach that I got connected with through a video I saw of a retired NFL football player talking about like the value of a performance coach and like what it meant to his career. And I was like, I think I'm avoiding this. Like I need someone to kind of help me make the most out of what I'm doing, my career and my work. So I reached out to Ben, and Ben and I talked, and I ended up joining kind of a group that he coaches. And then Ben connected me with this gentleman, Tyler, who he said, in his coaching pool, Tyler is kind of a media guy and is running the media side of Ben's business. And in particular, he would be equipped to kind of help me because I was saying, like, I'm not selling insurance. I'm not selling cars. I'm not typically the people that were kind of in this group are more financial side, salespeople, business. Like I was the only artist that I think that was in that group. So he connected me with Tyler, and Tyler and I chatted, and we've been, going through some options and talking about things. And one of the things that we talked about is like, I should start to look for paid work within the world of 3D, because ultimately I'll still be doing what I love, more income, can be able to steady what goes on the crypto side. So we made a decision, and I applied to a couple of little gigs on rework, one of those ones. Nothing came back, but an old friend of mine reached out to me and said, like, hey, I work with this company. I won't say who they are, give you any details because it's all under NDA. But he said, hey, I work, this company, and we're looking for a promo video for a Kickstarter. I saw your work you posted on Instagram. Would you be interested? And I said, yeah, like, let's chat. And my instinct was like to say no, like, I don't have time for this. Like, I work on my own stuff. Like, probably is it going to be a budget? What is it? And we chatted, and, the number that they gave me was not, it's a low number, relatively speaking, I think, for the type of work that this is. But I was like, I'm doing it. I'm saying yes. Don't care about the money. I'm going to get this under my belt. So I took that gig. And, the mistake I made was, like, I had time in early October before I started this project to actually do the work. And I was prepping and planning and making the mint pass for this thing and getting the live stream set up. And I just didn't do it. No excuses, just procrastinated. If they're, let me just send them this video so they know what's going on. But I didn't miss deadline or anything. I could have done it before I started. Once this, everyday thing started, it was like, okay, I'm barely surviving this, create new art every day. How the heck am I going to do a client project? So anyway, fast forward to yesterday, I was like, okay, I have to do this. Now, I'd kind of mocked up some stuff before and tested some things, done some renders, kind of felt like I knew what I was doing, but I hadn't sat down and actually like really focused on it, like really done it. So yesterday, in the middle of all this, I actually started that project, and, happy with, I've finished it. I probably going to be some small revisions and stuff, but generally got it done. I'm very happy with the work. And it was like, on one side, very eye-opening and positive for me, because I was like, okay, I can apply the skill to like a commercial thing. And I'm like, this is really good. Like, I'm really happy. Obviously, there's things I would change and things I would improve, but I'm like, hey, for the first time, really truly doing this for like an outside client, like, man, this is a usable skill. Like, I could sell this, I could make more of these, I could market this, and I could make money. So it's like very good, big relief. Now, in the meantime, I actually did very well with pre-selling this click around and find out project that I'm working on now. That's why I'm streaming. So it's like, okay, good news all around. Like, hey, I actually was able to sell this. This gives me, momentum and excitement to continue to work on the NFT stuff, but also like, hey, I could make money over here. Okay. So the long story of this is, like, I got that done, and it was humbling for a couple of reasons, which I'm going to get into kind of around 3D, but it's kind of put me again behind. I am, let's say today I should be minting number 10, and I've done 6. So that gives you an idea. That's the reality. Now, I'm confident because I'm like, this is not like, okay, I know that people might say, if you're watching the stream and you say you bought the pass, there's two types of people. Some people might say, like, what are you talking about? Like, you're learning stuff. Like, why am I paying for you to learn? You should be minting your best work. Like, agree. But the other side of this is like the whole point of this project and the kind of the ethos behind it was, it's called CAFO, right? Click around and find out, because I wanted to push the boundaries of some experimental stuff that I'm learning, but also that is like, everything's very cutting edge. And I wanted to try some things. I wanted to see what I could create. And I'm very confident by the end of this, when people look back at the whole body of work, not only will they see like progression, which is exciting, but also they'll see the quality and dedication that I put into every piece, because I'm not cutting corners, and I refuse to cut corners. And I've gone over because things that I've like wanted to do. And I could easily just say, nah, I got to get this out, ship it. Part of the lesson is going to be balancing between that and trying to get it exactly the way I want it. But I've really put in a ton of effort, and I'm really excited and happy with what I produced. But also, I didn't necessarily plan this going in. I had a loose story that I wanted to tell, and I thought I would kind of like tell it in pieces. And as I started, is like my storytelling instincts kicked in, and I was like, no, there's like a linear story I kind of want to tell. So I've been doing that, and I'm very happy with when I lay it out. I know, and I've kind of alluded to stuff on the stream, but I really am telling a story, and I'm very excited that after 30 days, there will be like an actual 30-day story told, which I think is really cool. I haven't really seen people do that. I'm sure people have. I just haven't come across it. So to put a new piece out every 30 days, experiment with like the tools and different techniques, and to tell a story, I think is a very worthwhile and something I'll be very proud of at the end. But we are where we are. And where we are right now is that I have to catch up. Oh, this is new. Launching a live stream on Twitter. Twitter is now posting. Oh, this is new. So on Twitter, there's Twitter Spaces. On Twitter, there's Twitter Spaces, and it looks like the Twitter live streams are now showing up at the top where the Twitter Spaces used to be. Which, I've been saying like, hey, they should do something to combine Twitter Spaces with live stream video, because no one's really doing live stream video on X, on Twitter. It's not that many people. I don't see them anyway. And people don't see mine, by the way. Like I post mine, but the problem with it is like you open it and you can't go browse Twitter while you're watching the video. It's really weird, which you could do on Twitter Spaces. Live streams are now showing up on Twitter in the Twitter Spaces UI. Yeah, so this is really interesting. I see the vision for this, and I'm sure that like the team at X is thinking the same way. Like Twitter Spaces are super cool, but basically what are they? They're just hosted live streams, right? So why can't, they're audio live streams, basically. There's no difference. So why can't we see a world where a video option becomes available on Twitter Spaces? People can broadcast like I'm doing right now, but also other people can join in and they can be broadcasting technically at the same time. We could switch between streams, and you could letterbox it. People can be invited to come chat. Like that's what I really want, is people to be able to come like jump on stage and actually chat with me while I'm working. The lighting is really low. Let me see if I can fix that. No, that's because my ISO is. I don't know why it's decided to be so dark. My camera's upside down, so I can't even find the function buttons to go change the auto exposure to. It's picking up the back. It's picking up the back, and it's exposing for the window as opposed to me, and I have to tell it to check the. It's probably, I don't know if it's center weighted right now. It's probably balanced. Anyway, it's the auto. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we're going on. I got to finish my rant. It's because I want to archive this and save this for myself. Just, for my own personal use. Okay. So anyway, where were we? Creating, working, we're behind. We're trying to catch up, being humbled, client work. Okay. So the sum of it is like, I'm behind. I'm going to catch up. I feel very confident in the things that I picked up. I was talking about the quality of the work and everything. But like there are things that I've learned that I just could not learn outside of this process. Let me give you an example. Like there are efficiency things that people do in industry. If you're working on a film set in a VFX studio, which I haven't done, there are process things that people do that are, meticulously like, we do this and this and this and this because of efficiency, right? As an artist, we don't think about efficiency that much. And I was like, if I'm doing a project and I give myself 3 months, I don't have to be efficient at all. My project file can be a mess. I can do this. I can make mistakes. I can render it the next night. Who cares? It gets dropped back 3-4 days. It's fine. And in some cases, there's positivity to that because like if you want to put out quality work, you shouldn't put a timeline on yourself. So it's like, all right, that's one side of it. The other side of it is without that timeline, you can do what I do, which is you drift into like months of a project because you want to get it right. You're not efficient. You just becomes messy. You're not like making good use of your time. You pick up something, you stop it, etc. In a studio setting, you don't have that luxury. You have to have a deadline. You have to get stuff done. And there are things about the way people work in those settings that I have not applied to my work. And I'm now learning a little bit about like what it takes to efficiently deliver a project in a day. And I got to tell you, there are things that like I learned that like I've used Blender 3 years and I've outputted files. And like last night I learned like 3D is so humbling because I'm not like, this is not like, look, I'm not saying anything negative about other genres, but I can just tell you my experience in 3D. And I've done, again, photo, video, like I've done photo, video, and like there are aspects of those, like like give you an example, the video aspect that makes video incredibly difficult is the one-time performance, right? Like if you go out to do work for a client, once you have that footage back in your video editing, let's say, for example, because usually I would shoot and edit, like you're going to get it. Like it's not like it's difficult, but like it's kind of one of those things where like, you know what you're getting, you fix it, you change the music, you make your cuts, you tweak it, you tweak it until it's right and it's done. But when you're shooting, if you make a mistake, like, you forget to like turn on the mic on the actor, you turn your gain up too high on the mics and you get clipping, you set the wrong color profile when you shot. Oh, you overexpose. Oh, shoot, you didn't take into account the flickering of the lights in Europe. So your actual footage has got flicker in it. Oh, you shot at the wrong shutter speed. Like there's 100 things you can do in video world that if you make a mistake, you can't recover from. Now, if you're just working for yourself and you're making cool stuff, it doesn't matter. It's like, that footage is no good, throw it out. But if a client hires you to go do the work, you can't make those mistakes. So you have to be incredibly meticulous about like every single thing you do, right? From a shot list to the settings on your camera to having batteries to, everything you're doing on site, you have to be a real professional. And there is a huge difference. You see that between, people that are good cinematographers, good videographers that get hired for gigs that just don't understand that. And I was in the middle, right? Like I had to learn a lot of process stuff because I was doing professional work, but I wasn't working for a team of, 8 people in a film studio. So there were, things that I could cut corners with a little bit, or I could, be a little sloppy with and still get away with, but ultimately had to produce the work in the video. Very, very interesting on that side. Photography, same thing, right? Like you do a client shoot, you screw it up, it's out of focus, you're screwed. But the good thing about video and photos, like once you get back to your computer, you're kind of like, you look at the footage, everything's good. Or you get the footage from someone else, you don't have to worry about it, right? Like, okay, we're cool. You get the photos onto the Lightroom into Capture One or into Photoshop, okay, we're good. Then your work begins, and like that side of it is, yes, it can be complicated, but generally it's like fairly low risk. Like you can kind of get the work done. Now with 3D, the humbling aspect of it for me has been, it's like every little thing you do in 3D software has like massive effect on the time it's going to take you to complete. So let me give you an example. Like if you render out, like last night I rendered out something through a render farm. And I don't know what I did. Like something got changed in the resolution or whatever. I rendered out, for 4 hours overnight, cost me $30. I get back and it's like, it's cropped. It's like, there goes my time. Now I can't edit the video the renders I created today because I need to go through the render farm again and re-render it. So it's like, okay, now I'm behind, right? You watch the video and you realize that you keyframed all the lighting in the scene. And maybe, I can't show you because it's under NDA, but I'd like to show, I rendered out this file and again, forever. And there's one flicker of light in the middle. Okay, 700 frames. Because when you render in 3D, you have to really understand what's going on. When you shoot video, right, you're shooting 24 photos a second, lower quality photo that you're shooting, 24 photos a second. You're shooting 30 photos a second, 60 photos a second. With rendering, with 3D, if you're making a video and you want to make a 10-second video and you have to have 30 frames a second, that's 300 individual frames that you're rendering. And each render can take anywhere from say 20, 10 seconds, 15 seconds to 2 minutes to render or longer. And some people in productions, it can take forever to render these things out. So you render out the whole thing and you realize there's a light mistake. Well, okay, maybe you could just go back and render those frames around it. But what happens if the light actually turned on, which is what I saw in this video. So, at frame 341, a light flicks on that shouldn't have flicked on because I keyframed everything and I must have, I clicked a keyframe, moved it over a little bit. Something got messed up. So this light flicks on and it stays on for 5 frames. Okay, 5 frames you can redo, but what if it just stays on? And it's subtle, but it flicks on. It's you see it when you're watching your render, especially it's a product animation. You're like, that's jarring. You got to fix that. So now you got to think, okay, well, I either have to go back and re-render all the frames where the light was on, right? You could go back and re-render the whole thing with the light off, or you got to get creative and be like, okay, at 341, it turns on. I'm going to move and reframe it to 335 and I'm going to slowly turn it on over 15 frames and now it's on. You can do that, but you still have to go in and think through it and you have to, the lighting is so low. You have to think through it and you have to figure it out and you have to troubleshoot it. And eventually, you can re-render it again and then you can composite those images together and it's a disaster. So anyway, that's the humbling nature of 3D, especially 3D animation. And to this point, I think I did one metahuman cool kind of video thing. And then I did a bunch of stills and then I went to video again. And when you go to video, it is massively humbling. A rendered still might take 10, 15 minutes to render, but that's nothing, right? At least it's done. You edit it. Oh, I made a mistake. Okay, I can just render that corner if I made a mistake, or I can, it's easy to fix. Video though, animation is massively insane. And when you combine, high density lighting, cinegraphic. What the heck word am I trying to say? Help me out. Oh, my chat's gone. Yes, I gotta turn my actual chat on. Proper lighting, really high intensity stuff. When you do that, plus animation, you're dealing with the worst. You could not pick a harder genre than doing cinematography. What am I trying to say? My brain's totally gone. Cinematic? Cinematic sequences is disaster. And it was funny. I was talking to a friend while we're having a Twitter conversation with, he's an amazing VFX artist, works for a studio, does his own work as well. But he was talking, we were showing a video. And I was like, man, I'd love to be able to do that. And he's like, well, which aspect? Because it's a 12-person team. And I'm like, all of it. I want to know how to do all of it. And he's like, well, like realistically, you can. And like, you get it, right? You start to learn and understand why. Like, you really need it so hard to pull that stuff off as a solo person. But hey, like, I kind of know myself, and I, maybe one day I would love to work on something with a group, but ultimately, like, that is my jam. I love working solo and conceiving stuff and doing the modeling and the lighting and the rendering and that editing. I love doing that. And, maybe one day I'll be good enough to hire people to help, and I can kind of do things like that. But I love it. It's humbling how much work it is and how little room for error there is and how long it takes to recover. That's probably the biggest thing. Like, you cannot recover, when you make a mistake. So like, when I say I'm going to do one every day, if I was doing a photo, like if I was like, I'm going to do a photo every day, like, no offense, like, could I do 30 quality photos? Maybe not, probably not. I mean, if I went from my portfolio, I probably could. But if I wanted to shoot something, like, no, it'd be difficult. But when I actually went and shot it, like, there's no real, like, they need a whole day for one photo. Like, it wouldn't be too crazy. But on the video side, the 3D animation side, it's like no room for error. So yeah, that's where we're at. So we're starting the stream on a new one today, 07. We're going to catch up. I know we're going to catch up, but I have to make some smarter decisions about my planning and what I do. I have to be more systematic about my process. I've got to improve a bunch of stuff. I got to fix this lighting because it's literally going to drive me crazy. Let me rant about Sony for a second. Sony is a con artist of a company, just like Canon and Nikon. No offense, but they're too old. And it's not that they do it intentionally. It's just that these companies have too many people that are just trying to preserve their jobs and look for ways to make more income. Let me give you an example. Sony uses its own software called Imaging Edge, which is meant to use for webcams, because a lot of people have nice Sony cameras and they use them for webcams because it looks better than your regular webcam. It's great for streaming. It has worked for the last 2 months. And suddenly 2 days ago, it just stopped working. Like, you get this little thing on the screen. It says Imaging Edge. It stopped. And I went through all the troubleshooting steps, restarted everything off and on. No settings changed. Like, nothing changed because I was streaming every day. And it just stopped working. And I was like, what the heck? So finally today, I caved and I went to the website and I like downloaded to see what, maybe there was a new driver or something. And sure enough, there's like a new program from Sony that you download to your computer and actually now run for the webcam. Now, okay, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But like, coincidentally, the webcam, like these camera systems stop working as that stuff comes out. Like, how did they kill? I still don't understand it. Like, how did they kill the functionality of the old version? Like, was this just a crazy coincidence? Like, how did that happen? Because it just wouldn't work at all. So I downloaded this thing, and sure enough, it popped up and it said, you must agree to our privacy policy and marketing policy. And it presented a check. You said you had to agree. And it was that they're going to share your information with third-party marketers. Now, it lies. It says you have to agree, and then you don't agree and you continue, and it actually works. But the way they presented it was you have to continue, and 99% of people just click yes and go. So the whole thing to me was just like they're trying to collect more information. They figured out how to do it. They figured out that they can share information. Like, if it doesn't worry you a little bit that, you're agreeing to some marketing thing for webcam software, like what marketing are we doing other than watching? And the whole thing freaks me the hell out. But as soon as I downloaded it, boom, everything started working again. So there's my conspiracy theory on Sony. And I do like Sony, like their camera gear. And I used to work for Canon, and they're 10 times worse. But yeah, I don't know. Okay, here we go. My menu's upside down. I need to change the exposure meter. Okay, let me take a quick break. I gotta flip my camera over and check this, but I gotta change the exposure meter to this side of the screen, or else we're gonna be looking at darkness the whole day. So give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back. All right. I think it's a little better. Now it's like, it's, hold on. I don't know if this is going to help a lot. It's one of the most, I'm in a mood today. It's like one of the most frustrating things ever when something is working properly, like absolutely working great. I did, week, 8 days of streams, no problem. Everything's working great. And then out of the blue, for no reason, it stops connecting. And now, like, even like, look at the exposure. Like it absolutely, despite the fact that it's sitting onto my face, is overexposing. And now it's underexposing. I mean, I can just set my ISO to my own, but it's just odd because the light in here changes so much. So, okay, good enough. Anyway, so let's get back to it. So, anyway, rant over. I just, it's just frustrating. It's frustrating and humbling. That's all I'll say. I won't get into any more details on sort of the technical stuff. But I learned a lot, and I have a new toolkit when it comes to rendering stuff because, I have to figure out how to be efficient with these things and get stuff done. But also, like, it's an optimization thing, right? I have to be super smart about not taking on projects that, I know, even though I know I can get it done. Like if I have to render something, I don't know what's going on here. Some weird sound. Yeah, like if I'm going to get something, I can get it done. But if it's going to take 12 hours to render overnight, this is by the way, this is the Imaging Edge desktop that they now make required. And I mean, dude, I guarantee you we won't do it right now, but I guarantee you. So this is what it did. So it said it gave this thing that you must agree before going. And then look, I don't even have to agree to this. See, I didn't agree to this one. But look, I mean, if you were to read this, I guarantee you, this is going to be brutal. Your universal unique identifier. Okay, so they have an ID of you and they connect with Adobe. So those two companies that are evil are working together. So they know you and your Adobe ID. So they actually have your real, because like I didn't have to sign in for this, right? Like I didn't have to, this it gets crazy. I didn't have to sign up. I just downloaded this. They didn't require me to like log in. I don't need an account, but that's how they get it. They connect your UUID with Adobe, which Adobe you do have to sign in. If you've ever used Adobe software, you cannot get away with using Adobe software without being signed in. So they go, okay, Adobe, hey, kick us over, Matt's name so that we can connect him so we know what he's doing and we can sell it to our advertisers. So they know where it's installed, your mobile device if you use mobile. Any questions, okay, that's fine. So if you use the transfer and tagging, software version, your mobile information. If you use editing, okay, here we go. This is the remote desktop. I think this is it. Software and version, CPU, questionnaire, visual story. I don't know what those are. They automatically receive device and usage information about how you're using and interacting with Imaging Edge, which functions you use, picture transfer times, link data together. Unbelievable. Like what in what world does the use of a tool to connect your own camera to your computer as a webcam give a company the right to process your information and use it for advertising? So then they use Amazon, so Amazon gets your data. They use Firebase, so Google gets all your data. Adobe, look at this. So Adobe's running, this is what Adobe's running a whole service called Adobe Analytics, which is serving up ID information to other companies because Adobe is the one thing that you have to, as a creative, you have to be logged into. You can't launch Photoshop without it. Man, I'm like, this is like on my list now. I said this before. I'm going to find a node-based like photo editor and start using it because I would love to get away from Adobe stuff. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way. Yeah, so Adobe 100% has a whole service where they give companies your data based on. That's insane. We should do a whole live stream video on like how this stuff works. Unreal. Like again, if Adobe's like, hey, we're using your information on, just we want to make sure you're using, we want to know you're using Photoshop and your program's like, all right, fine, whatever. You know that I launched Photoshop. Cool. right? But what do they start looking at? What you're doing in Photoshop, image recognition, what are you working on? How, like, they get everything. And then to be like, you got to be signed in and we're going to sell that. I bet you they make a ton of money doing this. I bet you Sony pays them a ton of money to run that service, because otherwise you would have to sign in. Like, there's no way Sony gets away with forcing you to sign in to Sony to use the imaging, for your camera. It seems crazy, but 100%, they can get it through Adobe. That's crazy. So California requires additional information that they don't require in other states. I'm going to move to California just so I can do this, like ask companies to get this information so I can actually go through it. I don't know. This is like a thing I've been thinking about a lot lately. Just data and like things that we give up to get programs that are technically free is wild. Virginia's got rules. Nevada's got rules. Contact Sony. We should call them. Sony evil, Sony Canada. So anyway, they make it seem like you have to agree to these, but you don't. So you can turn it off, but you don't. Your brain doesn't see that, and now it's gonna, probably run stuff in the background, so it give you a little notification. Oh yeah, new Sony. Blah. Anyway, okay, I'm done. I'm finished. Let's make some art. So my future is to commentate on all things related to data and privacy instead of actually making stuff. Okay, what are we doing today? Stream's called Mementos. I've been telling this story, and I'm going to make this today is going to be the start of me doing this. So what I've been wanting to do is kind of get through this idea of like 3D scanning things that are important to you, like personal things. And I've done this myself. I've 3D scanned some objects that very important to me. And the concept that I'm trying to push, or kind of the idea I'm trying to push, is like, how many things in your life have you kind of gotten rid of because you just don't have the space, but they meant something to you, right? There's always that balance. Like, people that are hoarders are like, I mean something to me, I don't get rid of it. They never get rid of anything. Other people get rid of stuff all the time because they're minimalist, but then they lose the things that they care about, right? How many toys from your childhood do you have? Like, of course you don't, because you carry those for the rest of your life. But like, how many times you thought about something you had as a kid and you're like, man, it would be cool if I still had that. I have that feeling all the time, but I don't have anything. And one of the only things I've ever kept, it's actually not even here. It's at my parents' house. I refuse to let them throw it out. Is this basically this wood schooner that my grandfather made me called the Matthew John. There's my name. And I 3D scanned it when I was there, and I was like, okay, like, this is a better version of it. If I get a high quality 3D scan, I can look at it on my computer. I can use augmented reality when I have the Meta Quest Pro or Meta Quest or whatever it is, or the Apple, Vision Pro. Like, I could be working here on my monitor in AR, and I can have that schooner right there in high quality, right? That's going to happen. And yes, I can't touch it, but it's close. I can see it. It's a visual representation of something that means a lot to me. And I never have to worry about bringing it with me when I move, or if I'm in, Japan for a month, I don't have to not have it. I can do something, on the blockchain with it. So I've had this concept for a while, and I'll do it eventually. And this is not exactly what this is, although maybe it'll turn into something like that. Is I can actually mint it, right? And then it's on the blockchain. There's a digital replica. You could verify that, like, this is the single digital replica on the blockchain uploaded by me, the owner. And let's say I wanted to sell that thing one day, I could sell both the NFT and the object. I kind of have this whole vision for this stuff. And I'm sure some other people that are smart will figure it out. Hopefully I don't have to be the one that does it. But I really think that this idea of like digital verifying 3D object or real world objects, converting them to 3D and making them available to, people personally, not things you're going to sell, like things more that you really care about. I think there's a lot of future in that. So we're going to kind of symbolize that, not by fully, creating the 3D model and minting it, although again, we might consider that, but by taking one that I already have done and making an abstract representation of it. So if you've been following along, the last project that I did was this one here. And I ended up kind of doing two versions of it. So I ended up minting, because of, again, a technical issue to do with lighting and time. My original concept was this. So the camera moves up. So this is our device. It's called the Soul Vault. And it's this like kind of a time capsule with all of your memories on it. And this is the lid. This is called the mobile CPU or mobile control unit. So the camera kind of moves across here, and then it goes to this device. And inside this device is a projector, which is projecting DNA, which is meant to be a visual representation of my own, right? Like this is supposed to be, mean that, I would store this in here and I'd make it available, to some future generation to recreate me when the technology gets there, something like that. But here's the actual animation. So he comes over here, zooms in, and it basically comes up and it fills this projector. Here's like a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Like that's choppy, hard to watch, but that is done. But it was all the render. The actual render and the quality of it, how long it was taking, and that's like, it could not get that done. So I shipped a different version, which is just the DNA. But what we want to do today is I want to, I may go back to this scene, but I'm trying to do things simply. And I want to replace this DNA with a hologram of an object that is very important to me. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the object and make the holographic shader. And then we're going to either just mint it as a black background, or we're going to put it in here. And hopefully I can talk myself out of doing this too far. No worries, Adam. Appreciate you. I got to get my chat so I can hear when people actually respond. Adam, and still I don't have Edge, so I have to download it and try to look at your file. But I will get to it. I just ranted for 20 minutes about how far behind I am. So I will do that, I promise. So just come hang out. Also, based on your feedback and our conversations, I'm going to try to limit my streams to 2 hours. So what time how long have I been recording for? Can I see that? Where is it? I don't see it. Oh, here we go. 53 minutes. So I'm going to try, Adam, I'm going to try to limit all my videos to 2 hours. And then that way, if I end up doing multiple videos, or obviously if I continue, what I'll do is I'll create part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. And then that way we can run it through that AI software and not have to worry about limitations. So I'm going to set a timer. I'll set a timer for an hour and 5 minutes. And that way I can stop the stream, take a break. It's also a good reminder for me to like actually take a break, a real break. So when I go on pause, I always feel guilty. So I come back quickly. Okay. There's like some football games on, so I want to watch too. Okay. So we have an hour. And I think my chat, hopefully my chat's going to be good. It looks good. All right. So that's the previous one. We're going to start a new one because I don't want to go crazy. And now we're going to work on this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the shader. And I've watched some videos on this. There was a really cool one, and it's done with geometry nodes. And I'm going to try to reproduce it. I might have to go watch some of the video or take notes. I keep forgetting just due to time. I've been, usually make a note of like, these are the steps I should follow. I don't have that for this one. But I will do it at some point. So I think I feel like I can just do this from my own kind of memory. So we're going to try this out. Okay. So the way they did it was a little different, and I'm pretty sure there's been an improvement since then. So I'm going to do Shift A to add to quick favorites, and search. So what I want is a volume. And I'm just going to see. Yeah. So basically, this is going to be the projector. So we can do is we can turn on snapping, control, and bring this. Yeah. Bring this. Sitting just above. So this will be the hologram. And I think we have some settings here, but I think this is going to work. We don't need to worry about we don't need to worry about the density. So what I want to try to do is I want to try to do points. I want to see if there's like a volume to points to volume. This is distribute points on volume. Okay, cool. So we can crank the density up. Yeah, this is what we wanted. Now, I don't know. Yeah, okay, grid. Perfect. So we can pick the spacing. And I don't know what the threshold does, but let's try that. Okay, and then we're going to do points to instance, or yeah, points to no, is it to points? I think it's instant. No, what is it? Instance on points, I think. And then we're gonna just for fun, we're gonna pick like a little. Let's try an icosphere, and let's put it in the instance. Let's bring the radius way down. Okay, so yeah, I think this is the thing that wasn't available when I watched this tutorial. It was over a year ago. So I'm hoping that this is going to work. So basically what we have now is kind of like this little grid. And again, we can adjust how many points we have. Kind of trippy already. And what I want to try to do is see if I can set an object inside of these points and have the points only show up where the object is. Okay, so this is the idea. And what's going to happen is then if I make these individual points like a little emission, like a little bright, it's going to be as if like kind of like like an old school hologram, right? So the idea being like it's made up of pixels and those pixels are going to light up. I mean, and actually, like if you really think about this technology, it's interesting. It's like if you could like make a bunch of like a grid of a bunch of little spheres and they were transparent, like truly transparent, which is impossible, right? Because it's going to reflect some light. But anyway, if you could, and then you could light up the ones that you wanted, you could make like an actual 3D hologram of them. I'm sure there's probably a device out there that does it. Maybe we'll look some stuff up after. But yeah, kind of a trippy effect. But I think this is hopefully going to work. So yeah, kind of like a voxels effect. Exactly. So I'm hoping this is going to be easy. And all I want to do now, honestly, all I really want to do is I want to distribute points only where there's an object. So let's just grab something random to test this. So let's grab well, we can do the monkey. We'll do that. So let's put the monkey in the middle. And let's go back to here and let's bring the monkey in. And what we're trying to do is set the threshold. It's something like this, but I know I have to translate this somehow and I have to think of how to do it. So I want to take... Let me think. It's to do with... Okay, hold on. Maybe... I'm just going to click around here and see. It's something... I don't know if... No. Okay, let me see. I want to do. I'm just gonna grab a little window. Instance points only close to another object. Blender. Huh. No. I gotta see if I find that video. See what they did. You know, it's so fun. I love the YouTube algorithm because I've been looking at chemistry and like microscopic data stuff in like for tutorials, and now I'm getting like all these chemists and biologists that are using Blender to visualize. So I'm getting all these random videos that don't have like views because like how many people are doing this? Like shout out to this one, TIFF2 Blender. 253 people watched her video on loading microscopy data in Blender. Oh, I'm gonna watch it. Like you get into like you really understand the niche. Like that's probably a realistic number, right? Like 250 people would actually care enough about that to click it. But shout out to people like that who
we're gonna make this proceed.
Who still make stuff even though there's such a small percentage of people that would actually care. I dig those people at all. A lot. Okay, so mesh to point. Think about how they did this. Okay, so there's a node called geometry proximity, which is interesting, which doesn't exist anymore. Geometry, here it is, geometry. Okay, so this is interesting. So that gives us positions. And I think we want point. Distant. Okay, hold on. No, that's not what I want. Okay, hold on. So there's a threshold. Okay, so less than. So take the distance and then pick a threshold. So we'll figure out that in a second. But where are we putting that threshold? So instances to points. I don't quite understand this part. I have to watch the mesh to points. I don't know what this would do. What would mesh to points do? What would mesh to points do? If I can get some sound here, hold on. Proximity. So geometry proximity. Distance goes into the selection. But that's not doing anything. less than. Okay. Something is not right. Distribute points of volume. Hopefully this works. We got these going. I skip this part. I don't know what's going on with that. So we distribute points of volume. No. Okay, I don't think that, I don't know what that's for. Okay. 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 I just saw something. There it is. Okay, so the video I'm watching, they're also talk about doing like light beams. Look at this, how's out of focus now? Like what on earth is going on? Sorry. But anyway, the concept is working. So what we did was we grabbed this info from the Suzanne. We found the proximity, and I think like points or faces or edges is kind of depends. And then this is the threshold. So go back to this thing. So this is how close they are. And then if we, hopefully we can, yeah. And then we've got the sphere. So that's how big these things are, which we can set to whatever we want. We could probably make this whole thing a little bigger, probably easier. But yeah, there's that. And then this is the density. So if we change this, there's more. And then if we go too far, it creates too many and it crashes. Which is probably what's going to happen right now. God damn it. There should be like a mode in Blender that's just like it can intercept. Like it knows you're about to do something before it does it. It's like, okay, bro, you can't have 50,000. Like I probably set the threshold or such a small number that I think that's going to cause an issue. Probably lost my Blender. Hopefully auto saves there. Never ends. Okay, let's just close it. Swear to God, the amount of things that run on Windows that I don't remember setting up is wild. Anyway, okay, let's try this again. Okay, there's our dude. Let's just can we make the whole thing bigger? Yeah, let's try this. That crashed it too. Oh. Okay. So now we have, let's see. It's massive. So I want to try to work in like the object scale that I would want. So all these objects are going to be probably maybe a foot. So really, I think this is 10 meters. Let's just see to bring this up. That's 20 meters. So yeah, we'll set this thing to what we want it to be. Actually, I think the net scale is fine. It's just weird that it's just kind of odd that it was, the numbers are. Okay, come on. All right, let's go with this. So yeah, this seems 0.05, 0.25. 0.5. Okay, there we go. I think this is going to work. And then, so this is the spacing. Just it's a weird effect, but basically that's it there. 3, 1. It's just the way that it goes. Okay, so then let's get rid of this. Connect this back. So now we have all these pieces connected. So we need higher resolution, but we need the threshold to be down. Okay, so now it's basically the shape, something like this. We can hide this thing, and then we can set, 0.1 is higher, 0.05. There we go. Okay. I think this is essentially what I want. Okay, so the part that I was running into, I'm not really sure, but basically this is the setup that I thought was going to be very, very easy, and it is. So it's really straightforward. It's just like get an object, get its proximity, set a less than, select from all the points, only the ones that are inside the proximity, instance an icosphere onto this. Join it together and output. So this is the simplest version of it. So just to kind of set this up, I think this is going to be another Instagram crop shot. And I'm going to do what I've been trying to do mostly, which is let's kill this light. Let's set the camera to 0s and 0s. And what I like to do is set, if you look from the top view, I want my camera -y, and I want it to have a rotation of 90 degrees, and there. Perfect. So just a super simple, so the camera's on the Y, easy to move it, and there we go. Okay. So if we turn on rendered view, this is what we get. So now we're going to go back to the shader editor, go to world. We're going to change this to black, and we're just going to actually turn it off. Okay, so now we see nothing. So now we can take the cubes. So this is our projector. Okay, or this is our projector result, maybe is a better way to put it. And now we go back into our geometry node setup. And now we just need to set a material. Now I can't remember, do we set it here? I think we set it here because otherwise we don't want to have, I think it's easier to do it after. Can turn this on, it's really nice. So just good to know like how long it takes. So this distribute points and volume is taken 110 milliseconds. This is 322. It makes a difference because if you move things around, you'll see, if I wanted to rotate this, it'll take time to update every single time. Okay. So let's go. I don't know why these are not saving. Search. Set material. I think this will do it. And then for our material, let's turn on an emission. And let's try that. There it is. Okay. Good news is it works. And now if we take this Suzanne, and I'm pretty sure if we change this to transform geometry, I'm pretty sure we can affect it. All right, so we don't get real time because it's got to calculate this every single time through, but we can rotate, and animate and stuff and have like the actual thing spinning. Okay. Let's use the real-time compositor to see how this will look because it's definitely going to use Bloom. So we'll turn on use nodes, and we're just going to add a glare, connect it, and then take the image. We're going to do fog glow, and we're going to go back to our view, and we're going to turn it on in camera. And I think... yeah, there it is. So if we turn this down, we'll set the threshold at 0.2, and then we'll bring the emission up, and then we can dial our emission to what we want, and then we can adjust the the size and all that stuff, and the mix. But there it is. Okay. So now the exercise is in making the beam that's going to project up to these points. So the idea is, let's get some references for this. We need to make some new file anyway. So new 07 Mementos, and then what is the shortcut for 01 source, 02 working, 03 output, 04 archive, working, PureRef, Blender, and then we can save this as Mementos output. Oh no, sorry, working Blender 07 Mementos V1. Okay, so that's saved, and then let's bring up PureRef. This is where I'm thinking like Blade Runner, like real kind of old school, like projector effect. So we can even do some Mid-Journey 2 on this one, see what we can get. So let's bring this over and we'll go OpenAI and we'll do some Mid-Journey. Well, we'll do some OpenAI stuff and then I'll bring up Discord and then we'll do this. So what is it called? Blade Runner. Let's see what it gets. Okay, so let's find some good projector stuff. I remember this scene. This was like almost like on a screen. I remember how it worked. It was almost like I'm thinking 3D holographic projector. Let's see if there's anything out there. Like this is what I'm thinking. Something like that. Okay, let's see what good old ChatGPT can do. Imagine a projector that can light up individual floating pixels in a volume to represent any 3D. It's so funny, right? Because really, I mean, all a TV is it's a plane of pixels, right? So the only thing I think limiting this is it's just the physical ability to suspend the pixels, and then it's how to make the pixels see through. Because on a TV, like when you look at a TV, when the pixels are off, you just see the black behind them, so you just see the pixels. So like it'd be interesting. It's just like how could you make it so they're fully transparent? Okay, we just need cloaking and cloaking wireless power, and we're good, and we can make this. Something in a cyberpunk Blade Runner style. Give me some options for what it might look like. So I'm just asking general, and this is the new version of ChatGPT, which will, I think, it'll interpret what I'm saying and it will create images if it wants to, or code or whatever. It's a huge step forward. So I have it's basically this, and it has everything together, which used to have to pick like image from images or from data analysis. Okay, that sucks. Okay. Give some more options. The 3D object be made of small pixels and not likely look photorealistic. That's a really bad one, by the way. That's like one of the worst I think I've ever seen. It's not only it's like very low quality, but it's actually put like a projector in the projector. Like it's projecting. This part's cool. Actually, there are some parts of this that is interesting. So, okay, so this part is obviously in our Soul Vault. There is this. We have one of these things in there. So we're going to use this as the projector. And what we do want is these beams of light coming up, where the more they're gathered together, the more you get like a opaque kind of effect. And then as you get further apart, they're obviously each line of pixels is going to be smaller. Phosphorescent screen. Is this like you think is this what I should say for the prompt, or? Yeah, explain that one to me. Yeah, so then this is the basic style, but what I would want is instead of these random pixels up here, these pixels would go to only the pixels of the object, and the object would be a dense mesh of these. This is what we're doing. We can make that in that style. We got it. Okay, so this is a little bit better. Yeah, well, it depends on the TV, right, Adam? Like an OLED's not. OLED is just like power to little diodes, right? I thought like an LCD is the same. Like a projector is like that. Yeah, like an older TV is projecting on. Yeah, projection TV old is that. Yes, but the new ones are just tiny pixels that are lit up. RGB, and like an OLED. Oh, you're saying yeah. How to describe it? Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to. I mean, I think it's getting it. I think this is the basic idea. It's just like it's kind of simulating. Okay, last one is better. Try to visualize a monkey like Suzanne in Blender. See if it helps with that. This is a good task for yeah, this one's not bad, right? It's just that the object is a little bit weird, but it's kind of getting it. But I think we can do it. I've seen stuff on this. We just want every single pixel to have a line that goes from the pixel itself. So each individual, like we have all these little pixels, right? So every pixel should have a line that goes from the pixel to a central point at the bottom, which will be the projector. So then we just have a bunch of lines. It should look like a bouquet of flowers, right? And then we apply the same emission, but we drop it so it's like very small. And I think that's going to do the effect. I fingers crossed this doesn't complicate it. Yeah, you got it. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything in terms of like a cool style. So let me just try quickly a couple options here. A 3D holographic projector that displays tiny pixels of a 3D object in the style of Cyberpunk Blade Runner. What? Hey, Michonne 109. What's going on? How are you? Adam, before you go, because you said you're going to duck, I can't watch your video yet. I'll go download Edge. So what was it? Was it good? Like, did it work? Like, can we do this? Because I'm going to cut this stream at 2 hours and then I'll start it up again after I probably have a bite to eat. No, this is cool. This is not what I was imagining. I think I know what I want to do. I don't think I need visual help. I just like to kind of brainstorm some ideas. Oh, geez. Oh, this is funny. I can just, that's art done. That's actually pretty funny. Just the look in the monkey's eyes are like, bah! And the projector is, but that's not what we want. It's basically this. If anything, what I would want to do is going to be step one, get the projector, the lines going up. Step two, potentially look at doing like a color replace. So like picking a color for the object. Something in my place is like picking a color for the object. I don't want to do full color, but I want to almost do like a pan. I don't know what it would be. Basically, I want to like color replace it to like something that's more subtle. Like all variations of kind of like the same style. And then once I get that, then I want to test it with different objects. So once I know that the object thing can change, then I have a node group that can put any object in and create the projecting. Then I'm going to go and get a 3D model of a boat. That's very important to me. And I'm going to make that. That's what we're doing. Okay. So Let me get because I was watching this. I should have wrote this down. Okay, let me think about this. So let's bring this back. I don't understand this mesh to point thing. Just going to try something. I'm curious if I reduce this, what impact it has. Somehow that went up. I just I don't know. I'm using a volume. I don't know if maybe it's going to be faster if I use like the other option is like a grid. And then let me just check this. It'll just help me a little bit. Interesting. I don't know if this is gonna. I'm just gonna do a quick experiment. Mesh line. It's way faster. It's way faster. The joys of optimization. Famous last words. I could be wrong. I lost it. So this is just a lot faster right now. So I'm just going to see, because like I think the delay is going to matter. So I'm just trying to see the difference. So it's the same deal. Icosphere in. The selection is this. This is a little bit confusing, but we're going to pick one or the other. The selection is this. Those are the icospheres. I think it's the threshold. Oh, I don't know where I made it. Oh, I see. I don't know if it's just the resolution. So it should be instances on the points, the selection. This one was. Weird. So this one was working great, right? Selecting. I don't know why I do this to myself. I don't know why I do this to myself. I just worried that it was going to be slow, and now I somehow mess this up. I didn't change anything other than this. Something changed. Oh, okay. Hold on. Maybe I changed the size of this thing. Yeah. Okay, other than the fact this is really slow, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't do this. I'll run this experiment another time. At the end if I have to optimize it. Okay. Because mine's working. All right, so Okay, this is way too slow. I don't know if it's this volume. So I'm going to have to figure out the volume thing just because I don't think this thing is going to hold up. So I'm going to try that grid thing again. So basically it's a grid and a line. I think it was a curved line. No, it wasn't a curved line. It was a mesh line, I think. Is that a thing? Yeah, mesh line. Okay, so hopefully let's just see if this improves. So if I do 10, that's 0.1. And then if I look at the wireframe, it needs to have a bit more. So does that create squares? Close. That's probably pretty close. And then if I do another instance on points after here, we should be able to put let's just duplicate this icosphere because it might be different. Okay, so we have the same setup, right? We have, this seems like I think this is way faster. So we have the spheres, which we can set to whatever size we want. We have okay, so we have this, and then this will set the density, which we can check. Okay, so now let's find out whether this, we're just going to duplicate it, whether this works. So let's just bring this up here. Oh, man. Okay, so let's bring this up here. Okay, so now we want a selection, and let's just make sure the numbers, let's just leave it at 1. Now let's do the selection. And now let's see, where is, okay, so let's change the size of this thing. Let's say 0.5, 50. So I feel like I broke it again. Okay, no, 25. 10. What is going on? Oh, right. Okay, so this is actually fine for now. Let's make this 2 meters. Okay, so that's 5 meters. Okay, so there we go. 5 meters out. Let's go 0.2 and double it. Okay. And then we can bring this guy. Okay, so let's kill this. Bring this up. Okay. So try our threshold. No. Oh, right. Hold on. I always forget this. Okay. Now, I feel like it's working. It's just there's not enough density. So let's do, how do we add more? So that adds more of those. That's more. Okay, I think that's getting somewhere. Okay, starting to look like something. It's just this density is not right. And it's also kind of putting them in the middle, which I don't know if we want it hollow or not, but I guess that's probably fine. And then this should be how many, and then it's kind of working. I feel like ours was much more. So where's the density is going up is fine. Right, so going 150. Okay, so going up it's okay. It's the in between. So that would be these things, I think. Yeah, okay. Let's just see how this thing looks in rendered view. So we can just grab that same material node, kit it. I feel like this efficiency thing though is kind of important. Okay, so it's kind of coming together. It's different though because they're so the difference, and I don't know which one. I think I could almost do it without. I want to almost like do both to see. So if I take this and drop it in, yeah. So see the difference is interesting because, oh, probably because. Hold on. Okay, it's not really. It's interesting though because why? Sorry, I'm running into just a weird mental block. Let's take let's put them both in. Okay. All right. So the first one looks like this. It's got all them inside, I think. And then this one looks like this. It is, okay, it's distributing them on the outside mesh. I feel like this looks better, right? But if you look at the numbers, this part right here is taking almost a half a second. This is taking a while. This is taking a while. But there's got to be a way. Whereas this one, looks weird. It does not look like. It does not look. Does not look as good because they're all inside, and that sort of messes up the perception of the shape because you get this double, like where there's more geometry, you get a double. So if you're projecting an object, would you want the little pixels to be inside of it? I don't think so. Because we don't see the inside of objects. So I think if you were projecting like a phone, you would just want to project the outside mesh and the back mesh. I don't think you'd want to project an inside of it because it would mess up the shape. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to take, the stream's over 2 hours. I wanted to keep these at 2 hours. So I'm going to cut the stream. So what I'm doing from now on is I'm going to take a break every 2 hours, stop the stream. I will come back probably 20 minutes just to grab something to eat or whatever. The stream will come back. I know it's probably not the best to kill the stream, but we want to have videos that I can actually try to run through AI. We're learning something, which is that this takes 24 milliseconds and this takes a half of a minute. So what I did here is way more complex, but it results in a much nicer setup. But I don't actually know why one is different because this one uses a volume. So at the end in it, maybe it's one is using a volume and the other's using the grid, but I don't really quite understand why the grid should only, why is the volume only picking up the outside? It's very cool. Which means we can kind of like go inside of the thing. It is really voxels, eh? It is really voxels, but they're only on the outside. Okay, break, reset. I'll be back here in pretty soon. Let's say, half an hour, 20 minutes, something like that. All right, guys. Peace.